We get to choose. What's kind of fun about this program, we get to choose what we bring on. So we're sitting there and we get to think and what would be helpful.
Be good for families to see.
Yeah, and I was really thinking and even praying okay, what would be helpful out there? And as I'm sitting at my desk, I have the Dianne craft from convention. I've got her tub sitting next to my desk, and it sits there, and it's like, sitting, and it's staring at me. And I looked at that, and I said, we talk about this program a lot.
We do.
And at convention, we talked about it a lot and shared it with a lot of families. And what is this program, and who does that help, and all those things. And honestly, I homeschooled and was in a school for 24 years. And it wasn't until I came to Rainbow that I heard the name Dianne Craft, that I heard right brain, left brain, and that it started to make, and as I started listening to you on the phone, especially you, Gina, and Sarah behind me, talking to a parent, I was like, this is amazing information. Like, I wish I knew this. You're talking about my son. You're talking about my daughter. How did I didn't know these things. Like, you adapt as a homeschooler, but now maybe we can help someone see it in their kids early. Like, I wish I could do it over, and now I'll see it maybe for my grandkids.
We often wish we could go back and
That's a good way
do
to
a
look
little,
at it.
do some things different.
So it's like, we need to, let's just talk about it. We talk about it a lot, so you both have used the program.
Yeah.
I have learned about the program, and it makes sense. The right brain, the left brain, the corpus callosum.
Yes.
Never knew that word.
Yes.
What is that? The part down the middle, and how the little fingers in there help the right and left brain talk, and there's a lot of things that can go into that. And Dianne Craft gets the whole picture.
She does.
She's got the therapy, she's got the exercises, even the nutrition. It's like the whole package, which to me, it's like, I believe that. I can see that. And now that I'm like in the middle of my life, and sometimes thoughts don't want to come together.
Oh, I know,
I said, maybe I should pull this out, these exercises,
we need this too.
and get my right brain and left brain working better together.
For real. I mean, it's a thing.
And being a homeschooler, you do see things in your child that maybe, you have that mother's intuition. And
You see them struggling too hard to do something that shouldn't take that much energy.
Right. Nancie, how did you find out about brain integration?
Well,
you were sharing it with us.
I learned about it many years ago when I had, one of my kiddos did struggle quite a bit. But I love this program. Dianne Craft's Brain Integration Therapy program equips parents to work with their struggling learners at home.
That's so cool.
We're seeing an increase in struggling learners, and we get almost daily, we get phone calls and chats of people saying, my child is really struggling in this area or that. Do you have anything that will help them? And as we've seen that, we've thought, we want to be able to talk about this with families. And so we brought it in today. But what I really love about this program is that we had been one of the parents that went to the extreme of, and sometimes you have to, of driving to therapy that was expensive, spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And when I found this program, I loved it because I realized it's affordable, it's effective, 25-year record of really helping kids, and it's doable within a family.
And it doesn't take a ton of time.
It doesn't take a ton of time.
That's so refreshing for
Yes,
parents to know that.
So many good things about it. Dianne Craft, who is the author, has a master's degree in special education, and she has a nutrition degree as well. But I think most importantly, she worked with kids for 35 years that were struggling learners. And so during that time, she really poured herself into the science behind why were they struggling so much, and learning about the brain and how you can use the body to help heal the brain and make kind of rewire the brain.
That's
so there's
a lot
new
of years
pathways.
of research,
Yeah.
right?
It is. And so
the getting to the root of the problem.
getting to the root of it, and let's see, why is it so hard for
And
you?
did she use these in her own classroom?
She did, and she was
saw the
able
results.
to see leaps
Okay.
and bounds that her kids would grow by. And so as she did that, she put it all together, fine-tuned it, and came out with the brain integration therapy program that we have today. So I was so thankful. It was a game changer for my family, and I know we've heard from many other families that say, this has really been such a help. It's given me a way to help my kids at home, because oftentimes I've been on the other side of that. As a parent of a struggling learner, you feel desperate sometimes. It's like, I'll do whatever it takes, but I don't know what to do. And where do I start?
And we hear that frustration from the moms that call in. That
We do.
And they don't even realize themselves some of the red flags.
Right.
It's just, we're having this learning glitch
Right.
here
Right.
or there.
They might not know what to call it, but they know there's something that's not quite right.
Something's not connecting.
And it might
for
be
them.
one glitch or it might
Yeah.
be several.
And all these big words,
Yes.
dyslexia,
Right.
auditory processing, dyscalculia,
Yep.
dysgraphia.
Sounds
Even me, I was
overwhelming.
like, okay,
What is all
Right.
this?
what is that? And what
Right.
does it look like?
Yes.
And she says it in a way that it's
Puts it in
every
plain
day.
language.
They don't understand instructions. They don't, and like it's understandable,
Right.
for a parent.
Yes. So auditory processing, that's something that we're seeing a lot of kids struggling with. And that's not a hearing issue. You know, sometimes
Right.
we think, well, we took them in and tested them and their hearing is okay.
Yeah.
But this is an issue of they're hearing what you're saying, but they're not able to process all of those instructions
Right.
and
Yeah.
understand it and do what you're asking. And this can sometimes look like a child that is being, disrespectful or disobedient because they're
Right.
overwhelmed at what you just threw out at them.
Right.
3 instructions and all they're remembering is it was something about a pair of socks.
Right.
They
Yeah.
don't remember anything
Right.
else.
I know. I remember when my youngest son I told him, "Oh, please clean up your room," and he looked at it like I could see the deer in headlights look like,
Overwhelmed. Where do I start?
"Oh my
Yeah.
goodness!"
Yeah.
So I
And
had
3
to-
hours later,
Right.
it doesn't look any different.
It's like, well, let's start over here and do
Right.
this first. And-
Yes. So this is going to help kids with all of these issues. So visual issues. It might be dyslexia. It might be that they're turning letters around or reading words backwards. It might be a tracking issue.
Right.
Maybe they're not tracking smoothly from left to right, and that's causing fluency issues with reading. It might be poor memory. A lot of times, these are the kids that you're teaching them something, and you think, okay, I think you got it. And then you go back the next day, and it's gone. And you're like, I thought they understood that.
I used to literally say to my one child, it's like you fell asleep and it all fell out of your
Right.
brain.
Where did it go?
And
Yes.
every day I have to say the same thing
Yeah.
over and over, and I would get frustrated, and now it's like, that's what it
Yes.
was.
Yeah, and you realize they don't want to be that way. They want
Right.
to learn.
Right.
They're doing their best, but they are not able to take it in and retain it. So it's going into the short-term memory, but it's never transferring over to the long-term memory. And
Yeah.
that's really the basis of her program is building new pathways in the brain and really
Right.
helping the left and right hemispheres of the brain to work together so that they're not always stuck in the thinking side of the brain. What they're learning is transferring and it's going to the side of the brain that's automatic so that they're not having to work so hard to read that word that they really do already know. They've read it before.
Yeah.
It's so encouraging that she lists all these opportunities to
Yeah.
face,
She
go
gives you
through the
hope.
obstacles of all those glitches.
She
and
gives
open
you some
up.
hope
Yeah.
and she shows you, listen, you might have these labels. Your kid might have been labeled, maybe they haven't been labeled, and you know that they're struggling.
Yeah.
And if it's not one of those issues, it might be an attention issue, a focus issue. There's behavior that often goes along with that. It might be dyscalculia or dysgraphia. A lot of kids are struggling to get words on paper. If you say, tell me what you want to say in your paper, they can tell you.
Yeah.
But then you hand them a pencil and they're like, I have
Oh, I
no
can't
idea
write
what
it.
to write.
Right.
It's like they're allergic to
There's
their
that,
pencil.
that disconnect.
That
Right.
disconnect. And so
I have it here, but I can't put it here.
right, it's a processing problem.
And she's not about changing your left or right brain learner.
Right.
Yes.
She's about, that is your superpower.
Connecting it. Yeah.
And so, but let's get your brain working together.
Let's
get
unlock the potential that you have, the full
Right.
potential that you have as a
to
student.
use your full brain.
Right.
And I love that
And-
she has exercises and videos to demonstrate that. In so many books, you have
Yes.
self-help books, and it says, okay, you can do this, but she has clear-cut instructions.
Clear-cut
on-
instructions. Yeah, she makes it easy. And I think, looking at this, after having done some of those expensive therapies, and I'm thankful we did them, but I found this afterwards and thought, for the price of one book, I have a program to do at home with my kid for the next 6 months, maybe 12 months, depending on how severe their issues are,
Yeah.
for less than the price of one therapy visit.
Right.
So I was so excited
That's
to
very
have the
affordable.
tools that I could use at home.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this is based on these midline exercises. And so they are going to be doing exercises 5 days a week for 20 minutes a day that cause the left and right hemispheres of the brain to work together smoothly so that they're processing information a lot easier and it's not
Right.
draining their batteries so fast when you're asking them read this page or write a couple sentences and they're just like already worn out for the day.
Yeah.
So we want to get them to a point where they're processing and they've made new pathways in the brain enough that this is becoming common and the brain is saying, I can do this. I know how to do this.
But you want to be patient as you go through it because it's going to take a while to
Take
see
some
the effects.
consistency.
And-
Yeah.
right.
You know, there's always that desire for the quick fix. You know, it's like, oh, can we just like take a pill or do something to just fix this?
Right.
And it is consistency that pays off over time. It is
really does.
something that has to be done every day, 5 days a week. But that being said, it's not hard.
No,
It's a
just
really
trust the process,
simple
right?
program. You're just doing exercises.
Right. And she mentions in one of the videos that I was training under, she even mentions how she used it with sports and with
Yes.
I actually
athletes
did
for
with my son in basketball.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting
Yeah.
because one of my piano students was brought to me because he was very uncoordinated. And so mom thought if he learned how to play the piano, he'll become better coordinated. Well, we also know that when you play the piano, you know, you're getting those
It's
both
working all
sides
the different
working.
parts of the brain.
And
right.
he ended up getting a scholarship
Oh, wow.
for basketball, you
That's
know?
so great.
Isn't
And
that
so
something?
really it's not just for somebody who's having a disconnect. It also could be that you could help your students, all of your students.
You could use it with your
literally-
whole family.
If
Have all
I
the
ever
kids
went
do it
back in the
together.
classroom, I would start
would
my day
begin.
out with this.
Yeah.
I really would.
Great
I'd be
idea.
like, all right, everybody.
It's good for
Get
everyone.
out your figure eight.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yep.
And we're going to start our day off with
Yes.
our midline, left, right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just,
These are exercises
so
that are going to
helpful.
strengthen anybody's brain and ability to process.
And
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that. Like, so parents don't know. Is it auditory? Is it visual? Is
Right.
it what?
Yes.
Does she have?
She
some
does. One of
instructions
the
in there?
first things she does in the book is to help you identify what are your child's blocked learning gates. And sometimes we know there's an issue, but we're not quite sure. She makes it very simple. You go through kind of a checklist and you can tell, yeah, you know what, that's really where it is for some
Yeah.
kids are all of the learning gates are blocked. And I had a kiddo like that. And in a way, it was just freeing to go, oh, okay, well, that's why he's struggling so much because all of these learning gates are blocked for
Absolutely.
him. But I love that it's very clear, whatever it is, whatever you find, she leads you through, okay, now let's look at how severe is that? Is it kind of a mild issue? Is it
Right.
moderate or is it severe? And based on what we find, now we know what we're going to do. We have a plan. And so then we're going to figure out what's my
Yeah.
schedule going to be. Making a plan. Am I going to do this first thing in the morning with all of the kids?
Right.
Am I going to do it, you know, when the baby's down for a nap in the afternoon? But kind of working through when do I have 20 minutes a day
Yeah.
to free up for this child so that we can help, or your whole family, to help them be able
Yeah.
to learn a little
Yeah.
easier.
and
And
you
I
used it at the end of the day, didn't you?
Yeah, and I just picked up actually the writing aid exercises and the visual exercises, and
Yeah.
that's what we used it for.
The
Very
writing aid
effective.
is great.
I
I
did
love
it with
that.
my son, so
Did
I
you?
even noticed a difference in my
Did
writing.
you? That's awesome.
So you did it for the purpose of writing better,
Yes.
of being able to take what
Right,
you're
that
thinking
visual,
and
yeah.
put it down on paper. See, how many of us struggle with that?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
You know, really.
Well,
So-
and you know, the world we live in is just different today. You know, we aren't as active as we used to be 100 years ago. So kids were growing up different and they were developing. They were doing more physical exercise and helping the brain to develop. And so today we're doing a lot more with screens. As much as we try as parents, I mean, I was pretty strict with my kids and I still had kids that struggled. So the world is just different. And all of these exercises are going back, they're rewiring the brain
Yeah.
and making it easier for our kids to learn the things that shouldn't be so hard for them to learn.
Now, if
Yeah.
you do have a severe, like you have all those learning glitches blocked,
Yes.
is it okay to set aside your curriculum for
That's
a little while?
a great
and-
question. So, yes, if it's a severe case, you are going to be doing those 20-minute-a-day exercises. And you're going to also add in what she calls the healing teaching methods. And so, if your child is 2 or more years behind schedule with reading or math, you're going to use some of her methods that she says they kind of give you Velcro so that these are
Okay.
things that stick with these types of kids, the right brain learners.
Okay.
So she's got a phonics program, she's got some math products that you can use that are going to help your kids kind of come up to speed while you're working on kind of the root cause that's going on with their
Okay.
brain. If it's more of a mild case, you're just going to keep doing your regular curriculum and just add in that 20 minutes a day. And, you know, for many families, that's all their kiddo needed to kind of get over that hump.
Yeah.
But if your child is more severe, there's a nutrition program. It's not complicated, it's really simple. It's a DVD that she sells called Biology of Behavior. And inside of that is a 27-page booklet that just takes you step by step.
Wow.
Week 1, you know, it's like maybe you're going to add a probiotic. In week 2, fish oil, because that gives the fat that the brain needs.
Right.
Sometimes our kids have nutritional deficiencies and we
Right.
don't realize it.
even-
Right. And
So-
it could just be as simple as a supplement,
A probiotic.
that
or-
you would notice a difference in.
That can make a big difference over time for these kids. So severe kids are probably going to need a little more than just this, but she also tells you exactly what you're going to need. And I love that she simplifies all of her approaches. You know, I met her years ago at a convention.
Did you?
Oh.
I did.
lovely.
That would be so cool.
She is just the sweetest lady. And I think what impressed me the most about her is that she does it as a ministry. She's not about, you know, she's doing it because she loves children and she wants to help them learn. And I remember going up to her and she said, well, do you have this DVD, this biology of behavior? And I said, well, I did, but I loaned it to a friend. And she said, well, here, you can have another one. And she was just so sweet.
Yeah.
But in talking to her, I just really admired her because she poured her life into this for 35 years and wanted nothing more than to just really help kids.
Yeah.
So
That's
she's,
amazing.
I'm sure, not making a lot of money off this, but you know
Right.
what? She's helping a lot
And
of
now
kids.
she's
Yes.
helping a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of even teachers as well.
Yeah, and the mom I was talking to last week, after I was looking at the book, and I was like, we should talk about this in our next one of our next videos. And then I literally got a phone call where I talked about it.
Oh, wow.
And the mom said at the end of the conversation, "Thank you. I've never heard of these things. I feel like I have a little bit of hope to get on the right path to help
Yes.
my learner."
Right.
And we've actually
And-
talked to people that have used it and have had really
It's been a real
great
game changer
results.
for them,
Yeah.
and we've seen that.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of times it's that they need that hope. You know, we go to convention and we talk to so many families who have struggling learners, and they're feeling kind of like, I don't even know what to do this year. We've tried this curriculum and
Right.
this curriculum and this curriculum. I don't know what's left. What can I do? And that's what we love about this, is that it comes alongside what you're doing, and it goes at the root of, like, it's a processing problem many times. We just need to strengthen the processes that help your child to be able to learn easier. And so I love that.
Right, and just even parents even knowing and learning about it, it's like, oh,
And I love
that's
the
what's wrong.
I love the idea of doing it with your kids,
Yeah.
you know, like you did,
Right.
because it's also a program that helps adults and
Right.
teens. It's not just kids. When we did it
Yeah.
with my son, he was a little bit older. Now, I will say sometimes with the older kids, you know, I had to kind of psych him up a little bit for it and say, you know what, Ethan, let me tell you, this has been used with professional football players. And he was like, really?
That's
Yeah.
what I
That's a
picked
great
up.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, it really helped them. And I said,
Yeah.
yeah, it gives them an awareness of where their body is in
Right.
space and time. So as you strengthen those connections in the brain, everything is strengthened. And you're able to process every type of information in a
Right.
more efficient way.
She says here, we've discovered phenomenal benefits of using this therapy for adults who have suffered from traumatic brain injury,
Yes.
strokes, PTSD, other
Wow.
processing issues. So, like you said, it might help
Yeah.
when a parent is doing
To just do
or
it right
to use it for
alongside.
remedial therapy for an older situation.
Right.
Where there's
Very
been an
valuable
injury or
resource.
something.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I do love the
But-
idea of doing it as a family, because you know, you might have younger kids that are coming up and you might not know what their
don't know.
struggles are going to be,
Right.
but you're kind of heading it off to start with, and just let's
Yeah.
just have everybody do it.
Right.
It's
Well,
good
let's
for
just
all of
call
us.
it PE.
There you
It's
go.
it's brain exercise, and then a lot of her things are.
And they're not hard to
We used to
implement.
do them in PE.
Yeah.
The crossing
Yes.
of the arm and the knee and things
Right.
like that. It's like we used to do that in
We
PE
used to
class.
just play that way. We
Right.
would
Yeah.
crawl and do the bear crawl and all the different
Exactly.
things. And a lot of these exercises are things that you'll recognize as, oh, well, it doesn't look that hard. And it's not that they're hard, but you're doing things like the cross crawl is one of the exercises that's done often. And you're taking, you know, your right hand and you're bringing up your left leg and you're touching it. And you're just going back and forth from leg to leg,
Yeah.
hand to hand. And what that's doing is you're using the right hemisphere of your brain and you're using the left hemisphere. And while you're doing that, she gives you specific information that you're inputting. So it's causing kids to have to make these new pathways as both sides are working together. And then you're saying, now I want you to do this. I want you to repeat back to me what you just heard me say. Or I want you to read this sentence. So you're asking them
Makes
to
sense.
input information in the brain while you're strengthening those connections. And that can really help over time to make it easier for kids.
I didn't realize how important crawling was until I
Yeah.
read this.
Right? I mean, I don't think any of us did until, you know, you start learning about the science that's behind this. And I love that she really goes into the science, that there is, this isn't just like, oh, I found this, it kind of works. She poured her life into figuring out the science of what do their brains need?
Right.
What can I do with the body to help heal the brain? So she deals with the nutrition, she deals with the exercises, and then you're also going to have some of the healing teaching methods that you can use use that are kind of like that Velcro to help the reading and the math stick if your kids are pretty far behind.
So in a week, you're going to have the consistency is key.
It's important.
We always stress
Yeah.
this.
Right.
You have to be committed to doing this every day
Yes.
for like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Explain a week.
Okay, so in a week, so we got a little long-winded today, you
kinda
guys.
did.
It's easy
That's
to
okay.
do.
It was good stuff.
It was good stuff. We're going to have to break this into 2 episodes, so be sure to join us next week to see part 2 of this video.
To be continued.
See you next week.